Okay, so yesterday, our last topic was Indo-Australia relations. We studied the different exercises that are there between these two countries. And today we are going to understand some more concepts of the current affairs. So first of all, it is the SOO agreement. It is the suspension of operations. So if you understand, in Manipur, there has been a persistent conflict going on for the last 4-5 months. I think since May it has started, between the two communities, the Meiteis as well as the Kukis, and little bit Nagas also. So these Meiteis, they live in the valley. These people live in the valley, which is around 10% of the Manipur geographical area, whereas these Kukis and Nagas, they inhabit the hills. These people, they inhabit the hills. So for a very long time, the people from the Kuki clan, Naga clan, they have been complaining that we are not being given due representation in the political setup, and the Meiteis, although they are only 10% to 20% of the population, they are controlling most of the important government positions, the political appointments as well. So recently, the recent conflict, the major reason for that was the High Court of Manipur that kind of mentioned that even Meiteis could be given the ST status. So with respect to that, the Kukis started protesting because they believed and they asserted that the Meiteis are already the dominant clan and they don't deserve the ST status. So they would take away the minimum representation that we are getting, even that would go. So that was the brief context why this thing happened. This conflict between these two groups has been happening for a long time now. And the suspension of operations is like that they will they will try to put a siege on whatever the militant insurgent activities are taking around. So what is the SOO pact? Let's try to understand. So there are nearly 30 insurgent groups in Manipur. 25 are under the tripartite suspension of operations pact with the government of India and the state. See, it is so on one edge of this trilateral, we have the insurgent groups. Then we have the government of India, and then we have the government of Manipur. So 25 out of 30 Kuki clan, Kuki militant groups have signed this agreement, signed way back in 2008. And the primary objective was of initiating political dialogue, that whatever your grievances are, we will bring that on the dialogue table and we will try to address them. Okay. Now, next topic is dry and see, we cannot go for internal security. We will be taking up another classes, most likely in phase 2. Here, if we go too much into that, if I go into the genesis of the Manipur insurgency and the other details about it, I think the entire lecture, in fact, 2-3 lectures will go in that. We'll try to keep it for the stage 2. Right now, we'll try to focus on majorly the current affairs that are required for the examination perspective. Okay. So, all right. So dry and wet waste management technologies. Okay. So recently, there has been a lot of awareness about segregation of waste, which is very important. Segregation of waste at the source itself, dry waste and wet waste. There are penalties, certain places about, if you mix them, because it becomes difficult to dispose of the waste. So Atal Incubation Center at BARC, Bhabha Atomic Research Center. So who founded the Bhabha Atomic Research Center? Homi Jahangir Bhabha. He was the first director of India's Atomic Energy Commission. So it is established under Atal Innovation Mission. So AIM Tinkering Labs, aapne suna hoga, Atal Tinkering Labs. So under the Atal Innovation Mission, we have this Atal Incubation Center under BARC, BARC, which will try to, kind of evolve certain technologies that will help the management of dry and wet waste. So what is this Shisha? It is a compact helical shaped waste converter aimed to manage biodegradable waste. generated in small societies, restaurants. So shisha is your waste management, waste, what you say, how you dispose of the waste. It is related to that. So this you should click when it is asked in the examination. Next is, what is a rapid composting technology? So it decomposes kitchen waste using cellulitic fungi, trichoderma coningiophyscis. So isolated from the tree bark. So it could be asked, there is this fungi, trichoderma. What is its use? How is it used? It is used to decompose the kitchen waste. Okay. All right. Moving on. Next topic is Komaram Bhim. Who is Komaram Bhim? He's a historical figure. And what is his significance? We'll see here. So Komaram Bhim was born in the Gond tribal community in the Sankhepale village in Komaram district. Okay. This district was named after him when? 2016. Okay. Nizam government. We're talking about Hyderabad here. Used to collect tax in the name of Bamram and Dupat Peti. Just remember these terms. For example, they may ask, this can be asked in UPSC as well, UPSC prelims. They can ask the terms Bamram and Dupa Peti is associated with which of the following. So you should know that. In the name of people grazing cattle and collecting firewood. Okay, those who used to collect, collect their firewood and graze their cattle, they used to pay some tax. Okay. In opposition, Beam spread a message of Jal, Jungle, and Jameen. So this is a very important aspect. So, for example, if you are aware of the tribal rights advocacy, the tribal rights or the campaign for the tribal justice, Jal, Jungle, Jameen becomes very important because इसको Z और J से आप अगर आप लिखें, these are the 3 J's of tribal welfare or tribal, what do you say, emancipation. So this Komaram Bhim, he kind of advocated the idea of Jal, Jungle, and Jameen, okay, among the tribal people. So this has become a clarion call for the indigenous people's rights to natural resources used in India, many parts of India to date. So just get this concept right. Komaram Bhim. He belongs to which community? Gond tribal community. And he was a great champion of tribal rights. Okay. Moving on. Next is Indian Arms Act 1959. Okay. So it stipulates that no one can acquire, possess, or carry firearms without a license. So you all know that to procure a firearm, you need to have a license issued by the district magistrate of a district. Okay. The act bars one person from carrying more than 3 firearms. Okay. This was the original. Now it has been amended to just 1. Now if you want to carry a firearm, you are only legally entitled to carry just 1 firearm, beyond which would be legally a crime. What are the exceptions here? There are a few exceptions. What are the exceptions? Let's see. One can carry more firearms if the person is a licensed dealer. Obviously, if someone is a dealer, he will have to carry more arms because he will be the supplier. If someone belongs to the armed forces or is a member of rifle club or association licensed or recognized by the center. For example, the professional shooters, they need to carry their guns. Okay, so these are the exceptions. So what is the criteria? Who can carry a firearm? Indian citizens aged 21 and above to get non-prohibited bore. Non-prohibited bore. So a bore refers to diameter, the barrel of the gun. That is called as a bore. Okay, so non-prohibited bore is permitted. Non-prohibited guns adhering to, let's see, 0.35, 0.33, 0.22, and 0.380 are permissible for the license. Just get this idea. When you will be in the training, you will get to use these ones. What are the prohibited guns? Prohibited bore? 0.38 and 0.455 and 0.303. So 303 is a very old traditional rifle that we have been using. Now it's kind of outdated, but it is under the prohibited bore, so that is not allowed by normal civilians. Okay? Can only be issued to a defense personnel or persons facing imminent threat to life. Okay? And what is the period of license? It is around 5 years. So just remember this. So this becomes, I think, this becomes important for your information as far as IB is concerned. You need to have a little clarity about these things as well. You will study in detail during your training. Moving on. Learning science via standards. So BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, launched this standard initiative for students. It focuses on a series of lesson plans aimed to use scientific concepts, principles, and laws to help students understand practical applications of these things. So this is just a continuum of earlier BIS initiative under standard clubs. So just understand this learning science via standards has been launched by the BIS for students. That should suffice from the examination perspective. Next is Atal Innovation Mission. It launches ATL Sarthi. What is ATL? Atal Tinkering Labs. ATL Sarthi. Okay. So under the Atal Innovation Mission that we studied before, now the question is who launched the AIM? It was launched by the Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog. Okay. It also launched this ATL Sarthi, a comprehensive self-monitoring framework to strengthen the ever-growing framework of ATL has been promoted as a platform to encourage innovation and imaginative thinking among the youth. Imaginative thinking. Okay. So since the network of the ATLs are increasing, so we need this platform to manage all the logistics and the database so that it is easy to manage that. As the name suggests, it is a charioteer, that is a Sarthi, enable ATLs to be efficient and effective. Just remember this. All right. Moving on. Strange method. What is the strange method? So researchers have proposed it to address bias in animal behavior research. So just remember, if the question is asked, strange method is related to correcting the biases in animal behavior research. What it stands for: social background, traceability, self-selection, rearing history, acclimatization or acclimation, habituation, natural changes. So just remember, you don't need to remember this acronym. Just remember, the strange method is related to what? Addressing the biases that we have when we study the animal behavior. All right. Next is Ukraine becomes the world's third largest arms importer. Obviously, since the Russia-Ukraine war has been going on for quite some time now, so it is being supplied with a lot of arms from the West, US, France, Germany, and obviously all the NATO allies are there. So after Qatar and India, it accounts for 2% of global arms imports in the last 5 years. So which is the organization which released this report of arm imports across the globe? So this organization is CIPRI, based in Stockholm. Okay. So India के जो arms imports हैं वो इस sequence में है, वो overall घटे हैं, but ज़्यादा कहाँ से हैं? Number one, रशिया से हमारे सबसे ज़्यादा हैं. We are importing maximum of our arms requirements from Russia. Then we have France. See, France has been a time-tested friend as well along with Russia. Even when we did our Pokhran 1 in 1974, Laughing Buddha, Smiling Buddha, right? So US imposed sanctions. It denied providing those reactors for the certain, we had these nuclear projects. France came in to help us. No problem, Aisha, you can take the break. No worries. Anyways, so after that, US. 1997-98, we did Pokhran 2. There also US again imposed sanctions. Canada also was vociferously against us. It was at that time Jacques Chirac, he was the then premier of France. He came in open support, and India it signed the first nuclear pact with India, 1998-99. So along with Russia, just trying to give you a context, France also remains a very, very important ally, a very, very important friend, and has bailed India out many a times. So India's top 4 arms suppliers remain Russia, France, US, and Israel. All right. Let's have a look at some of the exercises again, which we have with the other countries. First is exercise Bold Kurukshetra. Bold Kurukshetra. Between Singapore Army and Indian Army. Singapore and India. Next we have exercise La Peru. La Peru is between French Navy. And what are the other navies that participate? India, US, Japan, Australia, UK. Which is the region it happens in? La Peru? The Indo-Pacific. Because the Indo-Pacific realm is evolving as a new theater of geopolitical churning. So it is a new theater of geopolitical churning. Okay. Next is, what is McMahon line? ये आपको पता ही रहेगा. So it's the de facto boundary, China or India eastern sector में. In the eastern sector, we have the McMahon line. Now we also have the LAC, line of actual control, along the Indo-Ladakh border there, India-Ladakh, China border. It represents the boundary between Arunachal Pradesh and Tibet, from Bhutan in the west to Myanmar in the east. So so if you understand here, so starting from Bhutan here, so this entire axis till Myanmar, this entire boundary between China and India is the McMahon line. So there is this water divide there, so that serves as the boundary. Now, when it was drawn, just remember, Shimla Convention happened in 1914. After that, it was at that time between Great Britain, China, and Tibet. Now, that time we were under the suzerainty of the British Empire. All right. So the McMahon line was drawn during Shimla Convention, officially between this. Okay. So let's understand a little bit about Shimla Convention as well. What happened there? So the convention attempted to settle the question of Tibet's sovereignty and avoid further disputes. If you know a little bit of the historical background to this, at that time, British were pressed on by the Japanese from the Eastern Front, as well as China was also trying to, they had the Russian advances in Afghanistan. So to not, have any challenge to its territory in India, the British were trying to sign treaties. It signed with Nepal, it signed with Afghanistan there, दोस्त मोहम्मद को वहां पर डिपोज किया, फिर रीइंपोज किया. तो वो सब, that was the idea of British to consolidate its Indian territory. It was not willing to expand. It was not interested to expand. It only wanted to consolidate that. Okay. So the treaty divided the Buddhist region into Outer Tibet, Inner Tibet. So the Outer Tibet would remain in the hands of Tibetan government at Lhasa. Okay. Under Chinese suzerainty, though China was not allowed to interfere in its affairs. The latter would be directly under the Republic of China. See, the Outer Tibet, that is closer to India, that would remain under Chinese suzerainty, but that would relatively remain as an autonomous region. This Outer Tibet remained as an, if we see here, so this is Nepal here, uske upar ye jo, if we see, this is a buffer area, this Outer Tibet, this was with its headquarters capital at Lhasa, was though under Chinese suzerainty, but it exercised some autonomy. As you know, later when Dalai Lama, they took exile in India, and we have Tibetan government in exile. Tibetan government in exile based in Dharamshala. So this is a little brief background to this. Okay, this is an autonomous region. Okay. Now next in the series of bilateral relations, let's understand Indo-US bilateral relations. So India and US trade is valued at $157 billion. If you remember, could you tell me the Indo-Chinese bilateral trade? We studied it in a few classes back. Indo-Chinese? Anyone? It is $135 billion. Indo-Chinese bilateral trade is $135 billion. That exactly 118 in favor of China, and only we have $17 billion that we're exporting to China. With respect to US though, we have a trade surplus of around $32 billion. Okay. With respect to China, we have a trade deficit. So China is exporting more to us and we are exporting less to China. But with respect to US, we also studied this one as well. We have a overall trade surplus, but as far as its defense supplies, US is in trade surplus. We are trade deficit with respect to US when we consider the defense supplies. Just remember this context a little bit. Okay. So India is one of the 12 countries partnering in the US in the IPEF, Indo-Pacific Framework for Prosperity, Economic Framework for Prosperity. India is also a member of that. Just remember it. India is a member of IPEF, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity. US supplies oil and gas to India, became second largest oil supplier. Currently, who is the largest supplier to India of oil and gas? It becomes Russia. Because after the Ukraine war, Russian exports fell, and we seized it as an opportunity to have, a very comparatively better deals as far as the oil imports were concerned. So this kind of, we were weighing our strategic choices, and we were not caught down by the Western aggression and Western double standards with respect to the import of Russian oil. All right. Now, India, US have also signed the Global Biofuels Alliance and Hydrogen Cooperation. Okay. A biofuel, we studied earlier also use of ethanol blending, for example, E85, 85% ethanol, and we are also targeting to take it to eventually to E100, 100% ethanol blending. That will be more cost effective. For example, ethanol based fuel will cost about 60 rupees per liter with respect to the over 100 rupees per liter for the gasoline, that is petrol. Okay. Next, with US, we have Energy Industry Network for facilitating US industry development in Clean Edge Asia Initiative. This is also important. Clean Edge Asia Initiative. It is Indo-US is a part of that. Also, International Solar Alliance. So you must know that International Solar Alliance was the brainchild of India and France. They were the founding members of the ISA, headquartered in Gurugram. India also recently signed a headquarter agreement with CDRI. ठीक है, तो ये भी याद रखना है आपको. Next, we studied this before as well. The domestic systematically important banks. So what are these important banks, which are, because of their size and their impact on the overall economic system, they are considered like their failure can be disastrous to the financial health, overall they can cause great disruption the overall economic scheme of things. Monetary policy will be impacted, and volatility in the market, inflation may go high, interest rates may be impacted. So this is how these are called as domestic systematically important banks, also known as too big to fail. They are considered too big to fail. Their failure will be catastrophic for the economic system. So it was announced by RBI in 2014. What are the current banks that are there? We have 3 banks, 1 public sector, that is SBI, and we also have ICICI and HDFC. So just remember that. Okay. Based on the recommendation of Switzerland-based FSB, Financial Stability Board. So this system came into being 2010 made recommended. After that, we had operated in 2014. What is the criteria? If we were to, nominate a certain bank as a DSIB, domestic systematically important bank. So based on Basel III leverage ratio exposure measure, having a size beyond 2% of the GDP. So banks, for example, these 3 banks are likely to be greater than 2% of India's GDP. So they fit the bill. Okay. Now, globally, if we see global systematically important banks, GSIBs. So there are 30 GSIBs currently, none from India. India से कोई नहीं है वहाँ पे, ठीक है? Basel Accord. What is Basel Accord? ये आपको पता है कि BCBS, Banking Committee of Basel Committee of Banking Supervision has identified a list of GSIBs. Basel, based in Switzerland. Okay, the city in Switzerland. Remember this. Basel Accord. एक Basel Accord है. This is Basel Accord. This is related to banking sector. Then we have Basel Convention. Just read about the differences between these two. This is related to environmental pollution, the biodegradable substances or hazardous substances that need to be phased out. So always be aware of this difference. Sorry. Next is Bumshu Festival. What is this? Shiding Monastery in Western Sikkim. Okay. 15th day of lunar month, not important. Just remember this. Bumshu means pot of sacred water. So what is important here? Bumshu Festival. Which place it is celebrated? It is Tashiding Monastery. And where is it? Sikkim. Just remember this. No need to go beyond this. Sikkim, Tashiding Monastery and Bumshu Festival. It means a pot of sacred water in Tibetan. Okay. Okay. Now, foreign lawyers and firms can operate in India. That is the recent directive of the BCI, Bar Council of India. Bar Council of India. Okay. So it has notified certain rules for registration of foreign lawyers in India and foreign firms. तो ये थोड़ा ध्यान से पढ़ना, UPSC के prelims में आता है generally सवाल. So it allows foreign lawyers and law firms to practice in India but not appear in court. Okay, they cannot appear in court. They will use certain other advocates on their behalf to litigate. Okay, eligibility क्या है? A lawyer or a firm should be entitled to practice law in their own countries. For example, someone from maybe US who has a right to practice in his own country will be eligible but not appear in court. What are the limitations here? The limitations being cannot practice Indian law in any form or before any court of law tribunal, otherwise legally entitled to, or any other authority legally entitled to record evidence. So, मतलब court में appear नहीं हो सकते ये लोग, ठीक है? Permission क्या है? They are only permitted to practice transactional work, corporate work. For example, corporate lawyers. So mostly they lead with the corporate law. So other, what you say, the legal jurisprudence, the normal cases of jurisprudence, they are not entitled to work on that. Section 29 of the Advocates Act states that only advocates, that is very normal thing, you must be knowing this, that you need to get a bar license to practice in any court in India. For example, if you are a member of Punjab and Haryana High Court, you are a lawyer there, you are registered there, you can practice there, and likewise in other states. Little bit about the Bar Council of India, established 1961, headquartered New Delhi. It's a statutory body formed by an act of parliament and not by the constitutional authority, established under Section 4 of the Advocates Act. Just remember this, again important from IB perspective as well. Okay, it regulates legal practice and legal education in India. So this is important. This thing is important. Not just legal practice, but legal education as well. Keep that in mind. Okay. Next, you have registration of political parties. Section 29 of the Representation of People Act provides for registration of political parties with the Election Commission of India. Okay? No provision in law for review of registration or cancelling registration of any political party on any ground. Just remember the ROPA 1951, the Representation of People's Act 1951. So it provides for this registration of political parties. Who does this? They're done with the Election Commission of India. Allotment of symbols and other prime time slots on the public media platforms. That is also decided by the ECI, Election Commission of India. Article 324. Indian AI system. What is this Indian AI system now? India AI. Okay? The national portal, AI portal of India, to boost research and so basically it's targeted to bolster the AI ecosystem in India and give a boost to the startup ecosystem. So what is who is behind this? MITI, NEGD, and NASSCOM. Okay? National E-Governance Department, I guess, NEGD. You can check it. I'm missing out here. AI is expected to add another 967 billion. Note this data. You can use this in the essay. So AI, what AI will do? AI will add another 967 billion. So about $1 trillion to the Indian economy by 2035. So if we are tapping into the potential of AI and recently the generative AI, we can add another $1 trillion to our economy by 2035. This is a very important fact. Can be used in our essay. Okay. Personal genomic mapping. So Reliance Industries will introduce personal genomic mapping to the Indian market. What is a genome? You all are aware. Genetic information of an organism is called a genome. It is a sequence of nucleotides. ठीक है, इतना याद रखो इसमें. Next is active volcano has been discovered in Venus. So NASA's Magellan spacecraft showed a volcanic vent in the Venusian surface. इसमें याद रखने वाली एक ही चीज है कि नासा का जो Magellan spacecraft है, Magellan spacecraft, they will ask Magellan spacecraft which space agency? Now this one is NASA. And for which extraterrestrial body? It would be Venus. Just remember this. That's all you need to know. Okay? Leave this not required. So what is rifting? Rifting is a geographical concept. It is a geological process in which single plate tectonic plate is split into two or more parallel plates by divergent plate boundaries. Let me explain this to you a little bit. For example, if you have these two tectonic plates, okay, so they will start diverging. Divergent plates, they move away from each other. Okay, because of the infusion of lava. ठीक है, तो ये रिफ्ट हो जाएगा। तो जो प्लेट ऐसे आपकी है, रिफ्टिंग हो जाएगी, होस्ट बन जाएगा, होस्ट या ग्रेबन बन जाएगा, एक जगह से ऊपर हो जाएगी, एक जगह से नीचे हो जाएगी। तो दिस विल फॉर्म होस्ट्स और ग्रेबन्स। ठीक है, लाइक दैट रिफ्टिंग हो जाती है। जो टेक्टोनिक प्लेट्स हैं, टेक्टोनिक प्लेट्स, दे आर मूव्ड बाय द कन्वेक्शन करंट्स इन द मैंटल। कन्वेक्शन करंट्स होते हैं, मैग्मा का मूवमेंट होता है। दिस इज व्हाट शिफ्ट्स convection currents in the mantle. This kind of shifts the, gives the power to the tectonic plates to move. So when they move apart, these divergent plates, they create space and there is rifting happens. Similarly, there are convergent plate boundaries. For example, this is one plate and there is another plate that subducts. Another plate subducts. So because of this, there will be trench will be formed here. So we will study that in geography in detail. This should be sufficient for you to understand the convergent and divergent plate boundaries. And there is third transform boundaries also. We'll study there. Okay. So the process leads to emergence of lowland region called Rift Valley. For example, Narmada Rift Valley, Damodar Rift Valley, Tapi Rift Valley. So Rift Valley ban jati hai. So this goes down and this remains like this. This is the Horst and this is the Graben. So Graben, this is a Rift Valley. Okay. Which can occur either on land or at the bottom of the ocean. These rift valleys occur due to movement of Earth's tectonic plates, as I told you. So there are certain plates, you just need to remember Nubian African plate, Somalian plate, and Arabian plate. So they are moving away from each other. They just remember these are minor plates. These are minor tectonic plates. The major ones being Antarctic plate, Eurasian plate, North American plate, Wanda Fuca. Wanda Fuca again is a minor plate. So we will study that as well. The Arabian plate is moving away from Africa. Okay. If you get a little idea here, this is Africa, this is the Arabian Peninsula. ठीक है, this is the Arabian Peninsula. Then you have Europe upwards. ठीक है, तो ये अफ्रीका है, यहाँ पे आपका, this is Africa, this is Arabian Peninsula. So these plates are moving away from each other. They're diverging at 1 inch per year, whatever the rate is not important. Because of which, for example, the distance between them is increasing. For example, you have this Red Sea. Red Sea is an elongated sea formed due to sea floor spreading. Sea floor spread होता है, तो वो जो एरिया elongate होता है वहां पे sea बन जाएगी. Similarly, this is also elongating. Any confusions here? समझ तो आ रहा है ना? ये थोड़ा सा टेक्निकल कॉन्सेप्ट है ये. I hope you're able to follow it. ठीक है. And also Somalian Nubian plates, they also pulling apart. And ये कहाँ पे है? Kenya, Ethiopia, and Tanzania. Just remember there which areas they are located near to. ठीक है. Now our next topic is Finance Commission. Article 280 of the Indian Constitution. Article 280 of the Indian Constitution provides for Finance Commission. का रोल क्या रहता है? To ensure the division of the taxes between center and states, grants made to states, panchayats, as well as any other task that a president assigns to the Finance Commission. Okay, it is every 5 years it is constituted. Now the 15th Finance Commission, ठीक है, इसने कुछ changes किए हैं. जो states share in the divisible pool, ठीक है, पहले 42% था. Now it has been done to 41% and another 1% for Jammu and Kashmir plus Ladakh. ठीक है, जो सेंट्रल पूल में से इसमें जाएगा. ठीक है, लद्दाख एक्चुअली लद्दाख बिकॉज सेंटर के पास ही रहेगा. जम्मू कश्मीर ओनली. तो व्हाट हैपेंस इज, जो भी सेंट्रल पूल है, फॉर एग्जांपल this is the entire taxation tax revenues that the government is getting, entire revenue. So out of that, we consider 41% currently is for the states. All right, and this 1% which was previously given to the states, this 1% now is for Jammu and Kashmir, and the remaining 58% remains with the center, which also is given to the UTs, and it is used for all the uh, infrastructure development activities by the center. It is used by that. Now इसमें इन्होंने क्या किया, जो मीट्रिक है जिसमें डेवोल्यूशन होगी स्टेट्स को, उसका एक थोड़ा सा पैरामीटर्स चेंज किए हैं, वेटेज चेंज किया है. तो पॉपुलेशन, एरिया एंड फॉरेस्ट एंड इकोलॉजी, it has been given 40% weightage, and per capita income difference has been given 45%, and own tax revenue and lower fertility rate performance 15%. So just remember these parameters. ठीक है. क्लियर है यहां तक सबको? Next is inter-services organization. Inter-services organization. So the bill comes ahead of the impending move to establish integrated or joint commands. So what are integrated commands? Can you tell me which is the how many integrated commands we have? Tri-services command. Can you tell me? इंटीग्रेटेड कमांड हमारी ट्राई सर्विसेज की है, कितनी है और कहां पे है? कैन एनीवन टेल मी विदाउट लुकिंग ऑन द इंटरनेट? एनीवन, एनी आइडियाज? It is in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The Tri Services Command. Okay. Because Andaman and Nicobar is a very strategic place for us, close to the Malacca Strait, and also helps India, extend its influence into the Southeast Asia as well as Indo-Pacific. So what this bill has done, ठीक है, तो India currently has only two unified commands. ठीक है, ट्राई सर्विसेज कमांड एक ही है, अंडमान एंड निकोबार 2001 में. फिर आपकी एक स्ट्रेटेजिक फोर्सेस कमांड है. ठीक है, स्ट्रेटेजिक फोर्सेस कमांड टू हैंडल कंट्रीज न्यूक्लियर आर्सेनल. तो ये न्यूक्लियर आर्सेनल को हैंडल करती है, और ए और एन अंडमान एंड निकोबार, दैट इज अ ट्राई सर्विसेज कमांड. ओके. तो ये बनी कब थी? कारगिल वॉर हुई, कारगिल वॉर रिव्यू कमेटी, इट रेकमेंडेड दैट वी नीड, देयर वाज अ लैक ऑफ कोऑर्डिनेशन था, जिसकी वजह से we were not able to give a very effective and a robust response to the enemy attack. तो कारगिल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट के बाद ये हमारी दोनों कमांड्स बनी है, और 26/11 अटैक हुआ. ठीक है, 26/11 अटैक हुआ, उसके बाद we were found wanting on that intelligence gathering front as well, intelligence gathering, coordination, as well as sharing of information, sharing of intel. So 26/11 के बाद we formed an organization as known as MAC, which is known as multi-agency center. When you join the IB, you will get to visit and work there as well. Multi-agency center, MAC. It has SMACs in the states, state multi-agency centers. So what this does? Isme IB, RNAW, military intelligence, police special branch. Then we have other district Department of Revenue Intelligence, Narcotics Bureau, Coastal Intelligence. All these agencies, they come along, and there is a convergence approach. It helps to collate data better, and maybe give a more calibrated response and a more effective response to such threats. So we can preempt such threats through the sharing of intel. All right. So what it does, it empowers the commander-in-chief of the inter-service organization to maintain discipline, ensure discharge of duties from all three wings of the armed forces. Okay. I think we'll close the lecture here. अभी हम doubts ले लूँगा आपके. Tell me if you have any doubts. I'll close the lecture here. I have something up, a meeting coming up in some time. So tell me if you have doubts, you can ask, or anything else you want to know about. Yes, guys. Am I audible to you guys?
Yes, sir, no doubt.
Yeah. So everything is clear. I think this geography part was clear to you guys. Where I try to explain a little bit about continental plates. Because if you guys have little less background in geography, it might as well have been a little difficult for you guys. I hope it was okay. Chalo guys, I think in that case, we will wind up the class and keep revising your stuff. Tomorrow, Saturday, I think, yeah. Tomorrow we'll be having a class. Sunday, we won't be having any class. And from Monday onwards, we'll be starting with GS. So thoda sa revision thoda fast kar do. There will be a test any day next week, most probably of January. Not necessarily from what I have given in the notes. It will be outside notes as well. So as to just keep the content a little mix. So I will try to enhance the content a little bit more there. So keep revising and keep the momentum going. We'll see you tomorrow, guys, at 3 p.m. Okay, guys. Thank you.